Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my Line of God's Daily Diary series. As usual, before I discuss what I have achieved since yesterday's Daily Diary video, I want to go ahead and read you a chapter from the Bible. Today I will be continuing with Genesis chapter 8. And God remembered Noah, and every living thing, and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters returned from off the earth continually, and after the end of the 150 days the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually, until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. And he sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro, until the waters were dried up from off the earth. Also he set forth a dove from him, to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned unto him into the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand, and took her, and pulled her in unto him into the ark. And he stayed yet other 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came in to him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So no one knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. And he stayed yet other 7 days, and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him any more. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dried. And God spake unto Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark, thou and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth, after their kinds, went forth out of the ark. And Noah built an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast, and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savour. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. I'll go in order of what I want to analyze in this chapter. Let's start with this verse here. In Genesis 8:17, God speaking to Noah, he speaks and says, Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. What he said, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. Okay? I would like to say this. Two things are true. God tells man not to fornicate, right? He says, do not commit adultery. So when a man fornicates with a woman, what can happen? A child can come. Is this child guilty of the fornication of both the man and the woman? No. So, is the child's life a good thing? Yeah, I would say it absolutely is a good thing. Are the man and woman exempt from their sin? No. In this way, two things can be true. So when I read this here, which says, that they may breed abundantly in the earth. That makes me very happy. One of the things you may have heard the Spirit of God been called is the Creator Spirit. And I can tell you, in my divine nature, the thought of this breeding abundantly, not what I mentioned about humans, this is about animals, makes me happy. It makes me happy to think about life coming, male and female becoming one flesh, and from the union comes more life. And that makes me very happy to think that. And like I said, two things can be true, because God did not intend for man and woman to become, to fornicate. Now, is the product of their fornication, which is a baby, whether man, woman, male, female, whatever word, is that baby guilty of the sins of their fornication? No. Everyone will be judged individually. So, it's two things can be true. Now the next verse I wanted to offer analysis of, I'm actually going to look up this verse, different translations, because it's very honest. It's a very honest verse. Genesis 8:21. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, and neither will I again smite any more everything living as I've done. So basically God is saying he's not going to flood the world again. That's what he's saying, right? He says he will not smite any more everything living. So it won't just cause like a world-ending flood of waters on the earth again, right? God says that. Now, what he also says is, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. He says, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. What is God saying here? He's basically saying that man in his nature is evil. That is honestly what I believe. That man in his nature is evil. Hear that. That's what I say as the Spirit of God. And if you can hear that as a Christian, it's because you have the grace from God to hear it. It's not saying that you can't be redeemed. It's saying that, another way of saying it, is that human nature is evil. That is honestly like one way of saying it. Yes, it is a way of saying it. It is a way of saying it. I won't necessarily say that. Probably I mean this only because of Jesus Christ. Because him being the hypostatic union has saved mankind, right? Yeah. Him being fully God and fully man, he saves mankind. But I mean this, without Jesus I would have just said human nature. Why? What is God saying? He's saying, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. He's just saying that men are evil. And that not that there's no help them because Jesus came. It's that their very nature is evil. That men in their own decision making are evil creations. They're evil. And that it's not going to be another way. Men are evil. So then the question becomes, what makes them good? Well, you already know the answer. What makes them good is service to God. That by seeing God every day, praying to him, calling upon his name, praising him, that is how they become good. That instead of being murderers, lying, thieving, fornicators, they realize that there is something greater out there that lives a completely different way, and that one day, through service to the divine, in this case Lord Jesus Christ, that they can overcome their own fallen nature. And I want to get, like I said, the different translations of this, because it's a very powerful verse. It's God saying after he destroys everything, he says, yeah, exactly. That's exactly correct. Because that's exactly the understanding. Basically, another way of saying this is that God is saying he will never again curse the ground, right? He says, even like the idea being, even though man's nature, the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that like, it's just so honest. It's just so honest, man. Like, that God who sees the thoughts of men, he sees the hearts of men, and he looks at them and says, "You're evil." No, I won't say you're evil, okay? I don't want to say it like that in terms of like, no Christian should feel like I'm trying to say something crazy. I'm not. Just the idea that God sees men. I ask like this: why then, if it wasn't this way, why do murders, lying, thieving, stealing, fornication, etc., why does all that happen? Because God says that man's inclinations, man's thoughts, man's nature is evil. And how powerful that is, because it is so honest. It's not God sugarcoating it. He's literally saying that the things that man imagine in their heart, and he says this, he doesn't say when they're old, he says from their youth are evil. That the thoughts that they have are evil. Does that make sense? Yes. That's exactly what it is. That the thoughts that they have are evil. It's just so powerful when you think about that. Why? Because God doesn't sugarcoat it for them. He tells them what it is. And this is one of the things that I think is just so incredible about God, is his courage and his bravery. Like, against all odds, God will never compromise correct. He will never compromise right from wrong. No matter how bad. Yeah, exactly. And it's just one of the things that's so powerful and so stark about God, is that it's not about the odds, it's about the principle. And I think that echoes in this chapter where he says, I won't destroy them again, even though the imaginations of their heart from their youth are evil. So very powerful stuff there. So with that, I'll go ahead and end the Bible reading there for today and transition over to what I have achieved since yesterday's Daily Dive video. Since yesterday's Daily Dive video, I worked my software engineering job, and I worked at my core, chest, legs, and back. And with no further achievements since yesterday's Daily Dive video, I want to go ahead and say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.